today, Monday the 17th, 2025. I woke up and checked in on my email and came across an email from one of my audience members that was freaked out about this whole tizzy that's going on TikTok right now about a woman and her husband who've been using a Ouija board and talking with an entity called Seven, and this whole prediction about a big nuclear explosion at the end of May 2025. And now, fortunately, I had kind of seen some of these videos come across. I think somebody sent me one, and I went in and I looked and I watched it a little while for kicks and grins and just kind of smiled and then went away. And so the reason that I am bringing this up right now is that I believe this is a really good awareness practice. I'm going to call it that. This is a really good awareness practice and discernment practice that we can all have right now with the situation going on with the TikTok video and the Seven and the Ouija board and this whole thing. I'm going to share my inside baseball spiritual coaching on this to let you know where I land with it, and then you can decide for yourself where you feel like your best discernment is, because I don't want to tell anybody what to believe or what they should think or what they should do, but I will tell you where I'm at, and then you can take that information and go from there with what I have to say. So let's talk first about the woman who posted this video and has been going through some very in-depth experiences with the Ouija board and her husband and talking with this entity that they call Seven, or is named Seven. So the first thing I want to talk about is how she presented herself in the video. And the way she presented herself, it was something along those lines. And I always hear it's like some sort of rendition that sounds like this. It's like, me and my husband, we're rational people. We usually don't go in for stuff like this. We're not conspiracy theorists. We're grounded. We don't do the oogie boogie stuff. There's that whole preamble. And I cannot tell you how many times I have heard that preamble, especially with all the new awakeners. And what I can tell you is that preamble literally is the witch wound. That is the witch wound in action, because that is people saying, hey, I think I might be having an otherworldly experience, but don't call me crazy because I'm grounded and rational. That's the witch wound in action, people. That is literally the embedded public version of the witch wound. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I've already done 2 videos on the witch wound. They are in my playlist, the Inspired Basics. Go look at both of those, because what this woman and what so many people do when they're saying all of this is they're basically saying, don't connect me with the stigma of the witches that got burned at the stake back, way back in Europe in 13, 14, 15, 1600s type of thing, because those people were crazy, but I'm not crazy. This is the witch wound playing out right there. So the first thing I want to bring up here is just ask you, whenever you are doing your spiritual stuff and you go to present it to somebody else, do you do that? Do you do that? Because that is a stigma. That is a prejudice. And I'm really at the point of calling it that spiritual racism, because that means people like me who are professionals get written off out of disrespect culturally. Let me put it to you like this. When you have legal troubles, who do you go see? You go see an attorney. When you have plumbing issues, who do you call? Well, not Ghostbusters. You call plumbers to come in and take care of the issue. If your marriage is in trouble, who do you hire? You hire a marriage therapist or a marriage counselor to help get you through whatever that situation is. When this woman and her husband started messing around playing with the Ouija board, did they ever think, ding dong, to maybe go to a metaphysical shop, talk with the professionals there who are experienced, or maybe dial up some of their local working psychics who are professional and experienced and can talk with them about this? No, because that's how deep the divide is. That's how deep the stigma is, the prejudice, how much it is woven into our culture. And so instead, they started doing this stuff with the Ouija board, and instead of going to learn more, ask for help, or all of that kind of stuff, no, they did a header deep dive into the deep end of this thing just to go ahead and find out whatever they could find out. Okay, all right. Now, I'm sure you can see where I'm at with it, but what I want to do here is a segue. And the segue that I want to say is like, yes, I have my opinion, but instead of buying into my opinion, I now want to throw out a completely 180 degree here, okay? So instead of judging these people or demonizing them or, they were bad for doing this, like, no, we're not going to go there. I want to throw out this idea of like, wow, okay, wherever, however they got that wild hair to pick up the Ouija board and start doing this and then really get into it. Wonder what that sounds like. That kind of sounds like a bit of a spiritual awakening. Have I done some crazy ass spiritual shit along my journey? Hell yeah. Have I gotten in trouble with it? Oh yeah. Did I learn? Yep, I did learn. So I'm looking at this whole thing with them and their experience and the whole thing, and I'm going to get to some bare bones basics on this. We're going to get to that. But right now, I want to kind of paint this in the light of like, oh my God, I think we're seeing some people have a spiritual awakening and they don't even know it. And it's really not about the Ouija board. It's about this whole experience that they're having, this very spiritual. And now what's very interesting is they've brought thousands of people along for the ride who are leaning in and going, So who knows how many other people are waking up? So we really can't put a framework of judgment and decide what's good or bad or right or wrong, spiritually for how people wake up. Now, me looking at it, I'm like, oh boy. And I'm a little bit of a snob and a little bit of a purist, and that's where I stand with it. But truly, I can't have an opinion that shuts this down because ultimately what they're doing is spiritual awakening, which is kind of the point right now, right? And is it up to all of us to decide who gets to have their spiritual awakening certain ways and not? Like, no. So I just want you to keep that in mind. All right. Yeah, I came in full throttle with my opinion and then I reversed it 180 degrees because everybody gets to have their spiritual experience. Period. No interference. That's the whole point. Now, let's move on to some foundational tools here about the information they're getting, who they're talking to, this, that, and the other thing. And this is where I want to give a little bit of a plug to my free live group stream, because what I'm about ready to share with you are exactly the kinds of things we're going to be talking about, because these are the basic fundamental tools we all need spiritually so that we might not end up blowing up our lives with some really strange spiritual Ouija board. Because, like, I'm watching what they're doing, and I can see what's coming, and I'm like, oh, I just hope it ends well for them. Let's just put it that way, okay? So let's start from the top. The top is that I am not a fan of Ouija boards. And the reason I'm not a fan of Ouija boards is because it is an unprotected portal for anything and everything to come through, okay? And I would much rather see people draw out their own alphabet with their own energy and their own spirit team and do their own pendulum checking or quote unquote Ouija board work from there. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because in all of this stuff going on, has anybody asked, where did the Ouija board come from? Why is it named that? What is this all about? We need to know that. And I looked that up. So because I'm a metaphysical journalist, let's take a look at this, okay? So I am reading off of my computer directly here. It's a Google AI overview. The Ouija board, a talking board designed for supposedly communicating with spirits, emerged from the American spiritualist movement following the Civil War, with the trademarked name Ouija coined in 1890 by Helen Peters in Baltimore, Maryland. Okay, this is good information to know. Where did the name come from? The O-U-I-G-A. The name Ouija was coined in 1890 by Helen Peters, a medium. Okay, now we're finding out she's a medium, during a session with her brother-in-law, Elijah Bond, when the board spelled out the word and then good luck when asked its meaning. So the word Ouija supposedly means good luck. Okay. Then, in 1890, Charles Kennard formed the Kennard Novelty Company with investors including Elijah Bond and William Fuld to manufacture and market the Ouija board. There we go. American industry, right there with the spiritualist movement. The Ouija board gained popularity as a tool for communicating with spirits, and advertisements highlighted its ability to answer questions about the past, present, and future. It became very popular, a popular parlor game, and a cultural phenomenon with its use depicted in art, literature, and pop culture. Okay, that is really good data to have. Now, let's dissect it, both with the people that created this board and the people that are using it. And let's specifically talk about the people who are channeling the entity that they are calling Seven. So, and I'm going to use the Socratic method here. So if I was talking with this woman who is putting out the information on TikTok about the channels with Seven, the first question I would ask her, I would say, before you sit down to work with the Ouija board, are you getting present? Are you getting present in the core of your body? That would be the first question I would ask. The second question I would ask is, when you begin to use the Ouija board, are you setting space? Are you being very intentful about who you want to talk with? The third question I would ask is, the being that you're talking with, are they of your highest intent? Are you like talking with a high-level spirit guide or an ascended master or an archangel? Like, are you talking with any light beings in the higher realm who have your highest intent of mind? What do you think? Like, so far, what do you think her answers are? And if you sit down and work with a Ouija board, what are your answers? Because this is what I'm looking at as a spiritual coach, a somatic coach, somebody who's been very experienced for very long. I want to know I'm grounded, breathing, and centered. I want to know that I have a very clear intent. I want to know who I'm talking to, and I want to know what their resonance is. What is their light field resonance? Once you begin to set all of this up, and once you begin to get very clear about this, you can begin to look at the information coming through the Ouija board, Seven, and these folks, and you can begin to go, who is this Seven really? Now, I've looked at it energetically, and I can kind of see who it is. I'm not going to tell you. You guys can go do your own energy check on this, all right? When she comes out and says, I'm doing the Ouija board and talking with this entity Seven, you have exactly what you need to go do your energy check to find out exactly who that is so that you can figure out if that is information you want to listen to. Really important. And kind of on the back end of this, the other thing that I would say, it goes back to, I would prefer to see you draw out your own alphabet with your own energy, because when you are using a Ouija board that is a portal to all kinds of things or anything, you are literally using the print and the image that dates back to the people who created it in the 1800s. And my question for you is, do you want to be channeling beings from energies of the 1800s? Maybe if you want to open up a time capsule and go back in time and do that, maybe. Or would you prefer to be working with your highest and best, clearly modern times right now with your own energy field and being able to be a little bit more discerning of knowing who you are talking to? Really great questions to be asking yourself. Now we can come to ask the question about the veracity of the information that is being provided with this Ouija board, talking with Seven and these folks. The feeling that I had watching this whole thing and looking at the information was this. Remember, these are logical, rational, practical people who don't go in for stuff like this. She said that as much. Look at how much scientific information Seven has dropped. So when he gives this predictive date, and he's already given all of this foundational information, because they are logical people who have a high witch wound going on. They're the type of people who are going to buy in on that date because of all of this other information that's been given lining up for it. Now, I would say, this is what I would say as a working psychic, given all of this. moving all of that other information aside and just looking at the prediction of the nuclear bomb going off at the end of May. I mean, I check with that with my body. I mean, and like, it's laughable. Like, I can't do this video without laughing because my spidey sense is like going, oh my God, they got set up. They got set up really, really good. But at the end of this whole thing, the thing I will say is, but oh my God, look at the spiritual awakening they're having because of this. Look at the experiences that they're having and the opening that they're having. And you can't deny that there is some sort of spiritual awakening going on with this woman and her husband and this experience that they've been having with the Ouija board. And so what I will leave you with, coming back full circle to that email, this is what I told her. I was like, did you use your own discernment? Did you get out your pendulum? Did you do a pendulum check on this? Did you tune in with your spirit team and talk with them about this? Did you tune in with your own body and find out how your body is responding to this? Because what I am noticing on TikTok and YouTube is that the videos that are most popular tend to be the ones where the psychics come out and give their predictions. People eat that up. But when you ask people to do their own work, do you know what happens with viewership? It takes a nosedive. It does. I've seen this. I've seen this with my own work. But do you know what's most important for all of us? Is to do our own work, do our own steps, be in our own discernment. And so when there is a prediction put out there, you have the tools that you need to discern if it's accurate information or not. Okay? This is where I'm going to give just a little bit of a selfless plug. Come to my group or pick the program up after. I am giving you the top 7 things you need to know that will help you walk you through stuff like this, and you will have the very pieces that you need to have to discern and do your own spiritual practice. This is a practice, people. This is not an end result of a prediction. It is not about an end result of a prediction. It is about a practice and how you walk your daily life with your spiritual practice so that you know who you are with that practice. That's what I'm going to be covering in this group, whether you show up at the free live or pick up the program after. And I think at the very end of this, I want to say, I wish this woman and her husband well. Like, my concern is that whatever happens with this, it blows up, they have a negative experience, and then they shut down. I would hate to see that happen. My hope is that somehow they're able to continue to have a positive experience, learn from it no matter what happens. They stay open and they continue their spiritual journey. And some of the people who are watching along the way, they continue with their spiritual journey because that is the freaking point, not the prediction. Okay? I will see you at group, and I will see you in the next video. Mwah.